Hi, everybody. It's Catherine McNulty, and I am here to talk to you about something very, very special. And I know if you're here and I know if you're watching, you have had to say goodbye to someone that you didn't want to say goodbye to. So today we are talking about when we say goodbye. And I'm sharing with this with you today because this past weekend I attended a funeral, and I looked at it from a different perspective because it wasn't the funeral for someone that I was very closely grieving, but so I could watch the family. But I was there and she was a dear friend. So I had my own grief that was going on and experiencing, but I was also witnessing another family's deep grief, right? And I always talk about how the amount of grief that you experience is directly related to how close the person was to you. So if you are very, very close, your grief will be deep, right? So I was watching this beautiful woman's children and her husband grieve her during the funeral, and they were having to say goodbye to her. And there were so many lessons that I got out of this that I just wanted to share some of those with you and spend a little time with you today, because sometimes we think about our grief, but we don't necessarily go back and think about the actual funeral and what happened there and who showed up for us. And if you're like me, if I think back 13 years to Jackson's funeral, I was in a daze. I was in a haze, in a daze. I was so numb because of my pain, and we all know that that's a normal part of the grief reaction, that I don't remember a lot of that funeral. I have snippets. I'm not really sure who was there. So let me know, like, do you remember who was at the funeral for the person that you lost? I don't have a lot of recollection because I was so deep in my own grief. But what I do remember was that there was an abundance of love that was coming out, that there were people there, that yes, I expected to be there, but there were also people that I didn't expect to be there. And they were all sort of pouring love into me and my husband at the time. And it was beautiful. So I want you to, as I share about the funeral that I went to this weekend, I want you to reflect on what you went through. And, you know, grief is so hard, and there's so much pain. But in all things that cause us struggle, in all things that cause us pain, there are things that we can be grateful for. That's one of my core teachings. If you hang out with me much, you know that there's always things that we can be grateful for. And then in every struggle, there's always a lesson. And I was blown away today by the lesson, or this weekend, by the lesson that I walked away with during this funeral. So let me share with you. So this is Suzanne Turner. We call her Susie. She was my mom's best friend, and I worked with her a lot of years ago. When I used to work in a daycare center, and she worked in the daycare center. She worked in the baby room taking care of the babies, and I was in the toddler room because I was still younger at the time, and you need much more qualified people in with the infants. And so she passed away on February 19th, 2024. And like I said, she was my mom's best friend. And I feel so blessed that we got to go and be in the presence of this funeral. There was a decision, you know, do we go, do we not go? My mom is 86 years old, and so doesn't travel quite as as much and as well as she used to. And so there was a question, do we go? Do we not go? And what happened for me was we have to go. One thing that I have learned about funerals is that if you go to a funeral that's not your own, you know, one that's close to you, if you choose to go, you're going for the person and the people that are grieving them, right? So I wanted to be there, and my mom wanted to be there for her husband and for her children, because she meant so much. And so just to go and be there at the funeral to express our love and our gratitude for the time that we did spend with her, for what she brought into our life, was magnificent, right? And it really is a gift. And that's how I choose to look at it. So this was a Baptist service, which I was excited about because I hadn't been to a Baptist service before. And so I was excited about that. As you can expect, the music was beautiful. There was a full choir to sing the different songs, and the songs were full of hope, full of joy, and the promise of the resurrection, because that is their faith. And that is a faith that I've shared here, that I believe as well, that one day I will be able to see my son again, that one day I'll be able to see my dad again, and one day I'll be able to see Susie Turner again as well. And I was taken aback by the church was big and regal, and pillars, white pillars everywhere, and a beautiful stained glass window over the choir that was up at the front of the church. And it was bright. There wasn't, what I was so taken aback by is, like, sometimes you walk into a funeral and they can be really somber, and it feels like the room is dark, even though maybe it isn't. But in this church, it was bright and airy, and the ceilings were high, and there were so many people. The church was full. The church was full, and like I said, the songs were just incredible. And I want to read to you a passage that you guys probably know, and it's from the Bible. And the Baptist minister had such a good message because it's a passage that is often read at weddings, but was so symbolic of who Susie Turner was, this beautiful woman, that he decided to read that. And to give you a little background on her, like I said, I worked with her at a daycare center. She was 70 years old. The day she graduated graduated high school on a Thursday, and then got married that following Sunday, and was married ever since. So 60 plus years she was married. So maybe that makes her older than 70. I can't remember how old she was. Anyways, they were married for 60 years. She chose not to go to college, so she didn't necessarily have a higher level education. She worked in daycare. She had, that was all that she had done by way of career. She was a mother, and she was a grandmother to so many. And what was so amazing was that the minister talked about the love and the love that she brought to their community. And he talked about how we don't take the things that we accumulate with us. We don't take our careers, our educations with us, the things we accumulate in our lives, whether we have big homes, cars, or all of the material possessions. We don't take any of that with us. And so at the end of our days, what we do take is love. And so I want to read you this passage because it's one that you know. You've probably heard before. So it's 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 to 8. And here's how it goes. It's all about love, which is what makes it such a good lesson. And like I said, it's very unusual to have this read at a funeral, but in this case, it made so much sense. Love is very patient and kind, never jealous or envious, never boastful or proud, never haughty or selfish or rude. Love does not demand its own way. It is not irritable or touchy. It does not hold grudges and will hardly even notice when others do it wrong. It is never glad about injustice, but rejoices whenever truth wins out. If you love someone, you will be loyal to him no matter what the cost. You will always believe in him, always expect the best of him, and always stand your ground in defending him. All the special gifts and powers from God will someday come to an end, but love goes on forever. And I think that whether you believe in the Bible or not, the message is so good that love goes on forever. And Susie was really someone that I aspire to be like. I often share that one of the things that I've learned as a result of my loss and all of the introspection and talking with so many of you and hearing your stories and walking through the grief journey with you is that what it's about is our love. And what it's about is connecting and being with the people that we love. So it's not the career that we have. It's not the things that we own. It's who we can touch and how we can affect other people. And it was very, very clear from this funeral that Susie made the people in her life feel special. She was able to bring out the good that was in people, that she focused on making you as a person feel alive and whole and complete with no judgment and only love. She was patient, she was kind. And the love that she shared with so many people was palpable in the church. And it continued on as we took her to the cemetery. And it continued on as we sat around tables and shared stories of her. And there's such a lesson there. There's such a lesson there. And I want you to share what's coming up for you in all of this. Drop me a comment below. It is the love that we share. And it's the lives that we touch and who we can be for other people. And in the Catholic Church, this is the season of Lent, which is a period of reflection to look back and say, like, what kind of person am I? How can I be better? What am I going to fast from? And when we talk about fasting, you could talk about fasting of foods, but it's also fasting from the parts of you that are less than ideal, whether it be, complaining or being judgmental or not being accepted of others or rushing too much or being dismissive. What are the things? And it makes us reflect, and it made me reflect at this funeral. Who do I want to be? And it's hard not to be at a funeral and to not think of your own experience and what you went through as part of your own loss and what I went through as my losses. But it also made me reflect on what's going to happen at my funeral. And what do I want people to say about me? And what is the love that I want to impart in the life that I have to all of you and to the people who know me, so that when I pass on, that my love will go on forever. And it's reminded me that I've got a lot of work to do, right? That I am worthy of love, but I still have work to do. And I think that That is our mission, right? What can we learn from the people that we did love? And what can we continue to learn as we continue to grow? We talk about the change of grief and how much your grief will change you. I hope that you feel changed. And what I want to continue to encourage you to do is change in a way that makes you more of who you are and who you want to be, and change that affects other people, the people in your life. And it can be in the big moments, in the big things that you do, if you serve other people, but it can also be in the little moments, in the moments that you're one-on-one with your children, with your spouse, with your friends, and even with strangers. How can you show up in love for them? And that love reflects back on you. If you're feeling abandoned at all in your grief, because that happens for a lot of us, the way to solve that is to love. Because if you love others, it will come back to you for sure. Don't you think? Let me know if you think that. And let's just continue to share together, to share our grief, to share who your loved one was, and let's make them proud. You know, I often think of my son. I like to believe that he's around. I like to believe that my dad's around, and now Susie is around, and that they can look down on us, and that they can feel our presence and we can feel theirs. And I often think to myself, am I making you proud? I want to make you proud. I want to make them proud. And I want to help. I want to help you on your grief journey. I want to share the love that I have. I want it to grow. I want to do more. I want to be better, because I think it's that growth and that change. I think it's the progress that we need to know that we're continuing to get better, that this is hard, that it's hard, but we're not alone. And that we have love to give, no matter how much our heart hurts. Our heart hurts because of the love that we have inside of us. So I want to encourage you today to share that love with other people. And when we say goodbye, and when we have to say goodbye to the people we love, sharing our heart with others and sharing our love with others honors that person, brings you meaning, brings you purpose, and brings you more love, because that's what I think we all need in this world. We need to be connected more. We need to love more. And we need to continue to become the best version of ourselves. So thank you for being here with me, for sharing your stories. If we haven't connected together, if we haven't connected, please do so now. Reach out to me at GriefInspired@gmail.com. As always, please subscribe to my channel so that more people can find my videos, so that we have more people to share in the love, in the pain, in the hurt, in the struggle, in the change. We can do this together. Grief is a process, and I can help. Have a great day today, and thank you for being here with me.